We already talked about the list of tuples and tuples of list. Now we'll be discussing tuple functions. Built-in function, what built-in functions we can use over a tuple. Let me write a simplest tuple. Is it too much complex? I'm writing a tuple like grades. So 98, 97, 67, 78, 87, 56, 79. This is the list of grades, a tuple of grades, right? Now, if it is a list, we can easily use a lot of built-in functions like sum, len, mean, max, right? Sum will sum up all of those numbers. Len will give you the length of the list. Mean will give you the minimum number of the list. Max will give you the maximum number of the list. It can also be applied if it is a tuple. So those built-in functions can only be applied here as well. They can also be applied. So to print it. So 568 is the summation of all numbers. This is the length, how many items? 3, 3, 6, and 7 numbers. This is the minimum number 56, bless you, and the maximum number is 98. Now, if I would like to find the average, I need to divide the sum by the length. It will give you the average number. The average number is like 82.28. So those functions can also be applied in a tuple, just like a list. And what other built-in function we have here? Yeah, just to remind you here, like where's the list of tuples and tuples of list? So modifying the inner list can be possible. This works because the tuple stores the references of list, and those lists can be altered. Okay. So mean, max, sum, len can be applied. In addition to those functions, we can be using their sorting and reversing function, just like I would like to sort these grade. So I can just print here like sorted grades. Do you remember a function called like sort? Do you remember the difference between sort and sorted function? One. Stephen?
Sorted is a built-in function. Sort was a list method.
Okay, what's the difference?
Sort only works on lists, and sorted works for any data structure.
Okay, that's the good thing. That's the good thing, but I'm looking for a particular difference. So what's the name?
Stephen?
Stephen, okay. Stephen and Stephen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort alters the first list, sorted creates a new list.
Yes. That's the main difference. Yeah, you're also right, Stephen, that it can also be applied only the list. I'm not sure whether we can use it in the tuple right now. So that's why I'm looking for a major difference. What's the major difference? Difference was like sorted function, sort the item and generate a new item, new sort of data structure. But sort will alter the original one. Now the question is, can I use sort in the tuple? We cannot, because the property is like we are altering the original one. And by definition, we cannot alter a tuple item. That's why dot sort is not permitted in a tuple. but sorted can be. It's because it is generating a new one. And yeah, dot sort is a list function, list method, and sorted can be applied to anything. Now, I would like to know later on, not right now, what are the methods? After finishing the built-in function, I'll be going to the methods. So first discuss the built-in function. What other built-in function? Reverse. The same thing. Reversed can be applied, but dot reverse cannot be applied. It's because dot reverse change the original item. So in a list, it is okay, but in tuple, it is not permitted. So dot reverse is not permitted here, but reverse can be because it is generating a new data structure, new sequence. In this case, it's a new tuple. Okay, you're familiar with the range function. So for example, this is like a tuple, and I would like to iterate each of the item. So let me, I think I missed this thing, that how you can iterate a tuple, definitely using a loop. To remove the, I don't know, I'll find it later. What is the auto complete things? It always gives me the answer. So here how I can iterate a tuple, just like our list. This is a sequence. I can easily use a sequence like this, item in sequence. The sequence can be a list, can be a tuple, can be a string. So let me print. So I can easily print the item from a tuple, but there is another way to iterate a sequence by its index. Do you remember how we can iterate a sequence by its index? Okay. I'm going to use the escape button all the time before asking you a question. When I ask you a question, I'm looking at you and it is generating code for me. Okay. That's the different thing, enumerate, but we're not working with enumerate. Still, you have a chance to answer me. Enumerate is different function, but I'll be discussing later. How we can access or how we can iterate the tuple by its index. The first thing is like I need to know how many items are there, right? And I can access the index from 0. That means the same way the list would have done. I have an index in the range of how many items? Len of the grades. Like that many items are there, right? That means I have the index of each item, and then I can print the tuple and accessing by its index. This is the second way. Iterating a tuple by its index, iterating a tuple by its item. So make sure when you use the in, the next one should be a iterable or a sequence. Sequence of characters, sequence of item in a list, sequence of item in a tuple. Sequence of item in a dictionary as well, but not right now. I'm not discussing about the dictionary right now. If you don't know what is whether it's a sequence or not, well, you can easily access to its index. How many indexes are there? Well, I need to find the length of this particular sequence and use a range function to create a range from 0 to the length -1, and then I can iterate those items. Okay. These two will print the same thing. It's like a double printing. First one is printing by iterating an item. Second one is iterating by its index. Okay, the range function is creating a sequence, just like I just wrote the code, that index in the range of the length of the color. There are like 3 colors, and then this is the index, and then this is the item. Now, whenever I need both the index and the item, forget about the first one. Maybe I need the index and the item. I can write this way, right? But this problem can be solved by writing a enumerate function. What it will return? The enumerate function. Whenever you are putting something here, a sequence, it will create 2 things, index and the item, in a tupled way. So for index and item in enumerate, so previously we have only one item from the range. Now it's a tupled. I think it's better to print what's inside the enumerate. Converting it to a tuple. It's like this. A tuple of index and the item. That means I have both things here. Index and item. Now, if I print the index and item, it will print separately. Okay. Now, the good thing of using enumerate is, by default, it starts from 0, but for some ranking, you can use a different number to start with. You can start with 100. It will start from 100 and then next onward. Sometimes we need to create like a modules of, like, there are like 14 modules for this class. This shouldn't start from 0. So what I can say here, like, these are the modules. I can start from 1. It will start from 1, not from 0. This is the starting point, but by default, it's a 0. Okay. Okay, there are 2 important functions here. The logical evaluation function. One is any and all. Now let me write a tuple. This is like a T1. It's a heterogeneous tuple. So first one is like empty string, then 0 and false, then 0.0. I have like 4 types of data here. First one is empty, then 0, then false, then 0.0. So there are some functions, any and all. Any function finds whether it has any true value. Now the question is like, how do I know whether we have a true value? Well, since it is an empty string, there's nothing there, right? True means like something or nothing. 0 means this is nothing. False is always a not true. 0.0 is like a not true. If it is 0.1, then it's a true. Now, if I print any T1, it will print true or false, whether there is at least anything there. So for 0.1, it prints true. If it is 0.0, it prints false. That means nothing is true there. Or even if like there's some item in the string, it will print true. Because there's something there. And if it is a true, there definitely is a true. On the other hand, the all function returns if all are true. Right now, we have only one true. It will print false because not all are true. Should have some true values. Now it will print true. These are the two important functions, any and all. Sometimes you need to use those functions to find out whether there are any negative values, not the negative values actually, non-true values. But yeah, negative value is a true value, probably. That's right. Yeah, negative value is something. If there is something there, then it's true. If there is nothing there, you can check it by any. If there is anything there, if there is not anything there, we don't need to worry about that data structure. Probably for some reasons, for some cases. Okay. Okay. I already discussed the tuple function and the list function. Tuple function converts anything to the tuple. If it's a string, convert to a tuple. If it's the list, convert to a tuple. Same thing for the list function, convert anything to a list. There is another function called like abs, absolute value. It will return the absolute value of those numbers. Let me print it. Actually, abs will return the single value, not the whole value. Like if it is a list, it cannot return the whole absolute value of the list. It can be applied on particular item of a list, particular item of a tuple. So here you can see I have iterated the tuple in a tuple comprehension here, not just like a list comprehension, just the same way. What I'm doing here, I'm creating a tuple. Then here's a loop for each item in nums. Nums is the tuple, and for each item, I'm converting it with its absolute value and then creating a list. Now, if I need to, no, I cannot, as because tuple cannot be modified. So you need to generate tuple in one shot. So if I write here like for item in nums, and then think about nums is a list. Nums is the list. I'm iterating each item in nums, and then I have a list called like absolute values list. This is the list, and then every time what I'm going to do, the absolute values dot append apps dot item. This is for the list, right? And how I can write in a list comprehension like this. This is our list. I don't need to write a list. Instead, I can write square bracket. And then for each item of the list, for example, the item is here. And then for item in nums, this is like a list comprehension, right? And I can elaborate this line with these three lines. But somehow I cannot elaborate the tuple comprehension like this way, because I don't have any append function in the tuple. Whenever I create a tuple, I cannot modify it. So what I can do, I can create a list, and then finally can convert the list to tuple. Now it's not coming. So this is the extended version of tuple comprehension, but actually I'm using a list comprehension and converting a tuple here. Yes.
Is that why it has the tuple function in the like tuple comprehension? Is because it's doing the same thing? It's
Not sure it can be worked this way as well.
Oh.
No, it will not work. It can be treated as like this only. Let me try. Hopefully not. Okay, it just create an object or what we have done for this looping.
so then when you use the
Then
tuple,
tuple is converting that particular object to the tuple. But I think for the list, by this square bracket, it automatically converts.
Yeah.
That's the difference actually. I never used it, the tuple comprehension, but you need to use the tuple function. Otherwise, it will return an object. But yeah, if you like to elaborate it, list comprehension is like easier to elaborate. But for the tuple comprehension, we cannot do that as because we don't have any append function in the tuple. Whenever we create a tuple, that is done. We can modify it. So when we need to modify anything, that means I need to convert it to a list. And then, well, definitely I need to convert this one first. I need to access each item and append that item abstract value to the list. And finally, I convert this list to a tuple. So sometimes I found that you write this type of code in your project or your assignment. Make sure you understand those code. At some point, if I ask you, can you elaborate this list comprehension or tuple comprehension? You need to write this code, like detailed code, so that it is more understandable to us, more understandable to you as well. So it's better to write this type of code first, and then later you can convert this line, these 3 lines to this 1 line code. Don't go to the advanced step first. Okay. Okay, so zipping, I already discussed the enumerate function, which is like giving you the index and module, like index and the value. But if you put here like 1, it will start from 1. So start is like a named parameter, but if you don't use start 1, the second parameter is the start. So you can specify it start 1 so that you can identify the name of that particular parameter. If you start with 1, it will start from 1. For an example, like this, it will start from this way. Now, zipping and unzipping. So I already told you about the packing and unpacking. This is a similar way. Whenever we are creating a tuple like this, we are packing this item into this particular one. And I told you, you can write a function to unzip, unpack it. Can I go back? Yeah. Okay. This is like 2 tuples with packed way. And how we have unpacked it? We have unpacked it using a function, or we can unpack it statically, but I'm writing a function like unpack student grade or name, maybe grade. And here's my student name. And there are like 4 items. I don't need to worry about the first item, not worrying about the second item, not worrying about the third item, but the 4th one. Point is equal to the student. Okay. If you don't worry about the values, then just use the underscore. If you're worrying about the values, then probably you can use the variable name. Otherwise, it doesn't worth anything. Okay, so this is the unpacking. Now, what's the zipping? Zipping is like, well, I have a tuple of just names. First one is John, then Bob, then Charlie, for an example. These are 3 student names. Here's their grades. John got 98, for example. Bob got 87. Charlie got 56. Sorry, Charlie. No, maybe better grade. Now, I will to make sure that 98 will map with John. not with Charlie, right? That means I need to iterate those two tuples so that I can map first item with the first item, second with second item, right? This is a challenging task. Otherwise, it can miss John with Bob's grade, Bob's with Charlie's grade, Charlie's with John's grade, for example. The zip function can do these things for us. If you just use the zip and put those two things together, I don't need to worry about anything. That's it. Zip will return a zip object. You need to convert it to known data structure, either list or tuples. If you use the tuple, it will zip two items one by one, like two tuple, item by item. It could be multiple items, like age, for example. I'm putting some random age. So if I put here like 3 items, age, it will zip all of those 3 items. Okay. Now, what if I have only one item here? Just the name. Will it create an error? Let me try. Probably not. It will create a tuple with only one item, but the second item is missing. Like second onwards are missing. That's why it's just like one item tuple at a time. Okay, now this is like a zipping. Now I have a list here, like a tuple, zip tuple, student info. This is my zipped item. I need to unzip the names only or the grades only. I don't need to worry about the ages and names. I need to worry about the grades so that I can generate the minimum, like statistical things, minimum, maximum, and average things. How I can unzip it? Unfortunately, there is no unzip function. So names, grades, and age, right? I'm worrying about the grades. Since there is no unzip function, we need to utilize the zip function to unzip it. How could you do that? Use the asterisk and then the variable. The zip asterisk is unzipping. I'm unzipping this zipped one, only the grades. I can only see the grades only. Okay. I can unzip the other two things, but I don't need to worry about those two other things, names and ages. There is no unzip function, but use the zip function, but using the asterisk. And make sure how many items are zipped here, how many tuples are zipped here, 3 tuples. Make sure when you're unzipping it, it should be 3 items, even if you are not worrying about the other 2s. Now, here's an example of using both zip and enumerate function together. For example, I have like students information and grades information. I would like to zip those 2 items and then enumerate it. Like first one is this, second one is that, third one is that. What I'm doing here, first going from here, from the bottom, from the inside one. Zip, I'm zipping student and grade. Student and grade. It's a zip version, zip version, right? It will generate 2 things, student and grade. Then enumerating the whole thing starting with 1. So enumerate will return another zipped version, right? First one is the index, second was the item. So first one is the index and second one is the item. What's the item? student and grade. If I print position dot student dot item, then it will print like this way. This is zipped with enumerate. So first I'm zipping those two things. Here's an item right now. When I put the enumerate, it will enumerate item with index. Index start from 1. That means I have two things, index and item from the enumerate. So this is the index, comma, and then the item. And what's the item? You can see here the items are written in parentheses. If you don't use the parentheses, probably you have an error. That's because this is an item. An item is a tuple. You are just unpacking it. This is zipping and this is unpacking. You are unpacking that particular zipped version to those two variables. Okay. So if I would like to write this code in a detailed way, I could write like this. First, this is the zipped. So this is zipped student. Okay. Instead of this, I can write zipped student. Now that will make more sense to me. Like this is an item, this is the index. Now this is a position, and this is an item, right? Now here, what I can do, I can unzip this item by student and name. Instead of writing those comprehensive code. Okay. Any question? Okay. So we can stop here today, but I would like to